We are live. It's another Wednesday here with the Earth School Journey. I'm your host, Uni, and this is my lovely co-host, Umi Steph. Umi,
Hello.
how you doing today, Umi?
I'm good. I'm so glad to be here. How are you?
I'm doing good too. I'm real happy to be here too, to be honest with you. We have been
Nice.
um, going live here on YouTube for about 3 months now. So
Yeah, this is
I'm
12 weeks now.
12
Yeah.
weeks. I am so excited about that. Like, and we're really just getting started, and we're really happy for, all of the people who've been joining us, either live as well as watching our replays and our clips that Umi has been putting out that have been, going viral and, getting us more likes and comments and, um, our subscribers are up to 22 now. So we're just really excited, and we hope you are too. We hope you've been liking, the content that we've been putting out, the spiritual principles, and just the things that we've been sharing. We're really pouring our hearts out here, and it's
hmm
only gonna get better, right, Umi?
Yes. I'm loving it. I'm loving watching our viewership grow. And, you know, I would love to see more interaction, is what I would love, because we want to give you what you feel you need on this spiritual journey, like what's going to help. And I'm excited to be able to give that, to provide that. So comment, subscribe, comment, like tell us what you want, ask questions. We're excited to interact with you all.
Yes, we really are. We really
Yeah.
are. And I think, as we continue on this Earth School journey that we're on, people will definitely start to chime in more, and, you know, share, some of the things that are working for you. If any of the tips that we've shared have helped you. I really think we're gonna start to get the interactions that we're looking for. So we're gonna keep the faith. We're gonna hold the vision for that, and get started on the topic that we're talking about tonight. So today, we are continuing with our series on spiritual hygiene. So the month of September is, ruled by the zodiac sign, the Virgo, which is the sign that rules the sixth house, which is all about your daily routines. It's about your health, your wellness. It's really about making sure that you stay, your optimal self. And if you're not your
Mhm.
optimal self, getting yourself to being your optimal self.
Right.
So tonight we're going to do a homeroom check-in, and we have been doing these homeroom check-ins again for 3 months now, and we've been really starting to think about our approach and how we want to share this with you all. And one of the things we were thinking about is like really like what is homeroom really all about, right? And so homeroom, to me anyway, I remember being in school and homeroom, we would get our attendance would be accounted for, we would get, special announcements, we would say the Pledge of Allegiance, we would just do all of those sorts of things. So we're going to be bringing that to you, from our perspective. And we really hope that you enjoy the show tonight. So let's get started. Again, talking about spiritual hygiene. Um, I want to ask you, Umi, have you been feeling present with your spiritual hygiene over the past few weeks? Have you been really tapping into that dedication to yourself on a daily basis?
Mhm. Interestingly, no. Oh, no, I have not, as a matter of fact, you know. And there's a part of me that's kind of happy that that's where we're at, because I really want our podcast to be about like real lived experience of not everything going perfectly the way we want it to. And of course, the month we're talking about spiritual hygiene, mine would go to crap. Okay. It would. Like I just started homeschooling my son this month. It's a new thing for us. It's not something we've done before. This is his first year doing it. I've taken on some other projects. We have this project, so my schedule has been all over the place. And let me tell you, that meditation practice went right out the window because it's got to get up, got to do, and like going to bed late and then waking up too late to have time, quiet time in the morning. And I got into that routine of not getting it in and then stealing moments, here and there, maybe running out here to the greenhouse and just sitting for a couple of minutes. And I was, still trying to get it in, but it wasn't a dedicated practice. It wasn't this is my dedicated time. I'm going to make sure I do it. Now, my prayer life is still good. I still pray every day. And other spiritual practices are still definitely in place. I'm still doing my moon rituals. I'm still, burning my sage. I'm doing a lot of those things. But that meditation practice just fell by the wayside. And I have definitely felt it in my life, like this week specifically, like it's when, the proverbial doo-doo hit the fan.
It happened.
It's like it was, I was supposed to be, at a certain place doing a certain thing at a certain time. And my life was so chaotic that I literally forgot. Like I had prepared to be where I needed to be all day, and just chaos happened in my house. And I have kids. Chaos happens. You know what I mean? And I realized that I was not where I was supposed to be, at like, I don't know, 10 minutes to it being over.
Mm.
And like, and it's an internship that I'm currently doing. And, I had to contact my supervisor and let them know. And I got, a little talking, a loving talking to. It wasn't a punitive at all. It was very loving. And and it's a spiritual, my spiritual person, a spiritual, guide or mentor or whatever. And so the first thing she said to me is like, "What's your meditation practice like?" And it was like a bag of bricks just fell on me, because I was honest with her. I'm like, it's not so great right now. I'm getting 10 minutes if I can, but it's like few and far between. And like life has been chaotic. And I just went into it, and she was like, well, you got to get it in, because you need that stillness for clarity. You need that stillness to hear, how to handle the chaos when it comes at you. And like, she wasn't telling me anything that I didn't already know, but I needed that reminder that like that's a part of my self-care and my spiritual practice that I cannot let go by the wayside. I need that stillness. And it can be in a regular meditation practice. It can be, chanting or whatever, but that quiet mind moment, I need that. And, it just reminded me, like, I laughed. She's like, you need consistency. And I go, that's so funny. What are we talking about this month? What was the last thing we said at the last podcast? Consistency. We were talking about consistency and how important it is in your spiritual practice. And it was just such a God is funny moment, right? It was just such a moment. I'd literally been talking to my son earlier that day about his consistency with like his schoolwork and stuff like that. So when she said it, I laughed out loud, and she just was like, "What are you like? What's so funny?" And I go, this is one of those moments where you like, God is such a jokester.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. I haven't been feeling very present. Obviously I've been feeling very overwhelmed, and so I'm really appreciative of us doing this because honestly, it's keeping me on track. Like it's pointing to myself and where my spiritual practice and my spiritual hygiene has been lacking. And that meditation is really just a cleansing, and it really cleanses your consciousness and allows you to take things in and receive, and I just have not been there. And so the last few days since that happened on Monday, I've been getting back into that practice, and now I'm starting to feel a little more present.
I love that. That is beautiful. Love that I feel like God, the Most High, the universe, our spirit guides, everything that is for us brings people into our lives to help us and keep us
Mhm,
focused. And having, these, mentors, and having people that you have to connect, having somewhere that you even have to be sometimes is like it's a good way to like keep you, like you said, in alignment
mhm,
you need to do. And so I love that, you saw how you were trying to, get your son in the present, but then you realized like, hey, how am I going to get him kind of like in the, somebody had to ring that bell and say, well,
right.
you have to be the leader. You have to lead by example. And if you're not taking the time to center yourself, then it's going to be challenging for you to center him and get him to where he.
Yeah.
And so I love that, you are open to, you know what I mean? Because I feel like when we are open to being taught, again, everything that is for us will bring us the lessons that we need to learn to like get us on the right path. So
Mhm,
thank you so much for sharing. I shared with you that I had a similar revelation myself this past week where I realized that I haven't been going on my daily walks. I haven't been out in nature. I haven't, barely seen a tree except in passing. You know what I mean? Whereas
right.
before, when I, excuse me, when I go on my walks, I'm able to, really, really be immersed in the in nature and really feel comforted and feel present and feel loved and feel, you know, all that God has put here for us to support us. I'm able to breathe better and all of that. And so I had a very similar revelation, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like I was like walking every day. I would go at, the sunrise, and I would, watch the birds and, watch the trees sway and, feel the wind and all of that.
Mhm.
Stop and smell the roses. I was
Yeah.
a whole shebang. And I was so consistent with it
Mhm.
for a long time. And when I was doing that, I felt very centered. I felt very present. Again, I felt loved. I felt comforted. I felt really one with God, one with the Most High. And it just dawned on me one day. And I was like, every time I think about going for a walk, I'm like, not today. Oh, it's too late. It's too early. It's too light. It's too dark.
Yep.
And
All the excuses, right? All the excuses.
pushing it off every way. And I'm like, no, 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 something ain't right here. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I got up that day. I went on a nice hike. I didn't hike as far as I normally would because it's been a good while since I've been out. But I did like a nice light hike. I sat by the water. I did a silent meditation. I really allowed myself to be immersed in nature. I sat in the sun. I sat in the shade under a tree. Like I did all of the things, and I felt so good. And I realized that, this has been missing from my life. I'm like, why do I feel so discombobulated? I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling like, to some degree, I have things that I want to do and, tasks that I want to tick off my list. And why am I not doing these things?
Mhm.
And, as soon as I, got back to that, I felt so much better, and I was able to, just really get back on the ball with, some things that I needed to do. So I'm in the same boat as you. I had a revelation, and I was like, okay, like this is what's missing from my spiritual hygiene right now. This is one of the things that I do. I identified, years ago, that this fills my cup up. This makes me
Mhm.
feel good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And maybe I can take a break from time to time, but it's not something that I want to abandon. When I was in the forest, the other day I was thinking to myself, like, I want to move. Like, can I put a house here? Like, I don't
Right.
leave, So if this is bringing me joy, if this is, taking me to that place that I feel really, really good inside, this is something that I need to keep on my spiritual hygiene list. This is something that I need to make
Mhm.
sure I'm doing. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been a very interesting
Yeah.
month where we are really taking a look, taking stock of where we are, and assessing that, and recommitting, rededicating to ourselves, and setting those intentions so that we can pick back up and keep on going. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Omi. One of the other things that I wanted to do is, just talk a little bit about some things that, we are grateful for. Now, I know that it's so easy to beat ourselves up about the things that we aren't doing and the things that we're forgetting, but we're doing some things right too, okay? And we
Mhm.
acknowledge that we cannot just lean on one side. We got to keep that balance. We got to keep things in perspective for ourselves so that we can continue on, because we start to think about we start to think about things that we aren't doing, and that's heavy on us, right? That's heavy. It feels, it doesn't really feel good. We feel like a little like a failure sometimes, and like, oh, I should be,
Mhm.
but we have to give ourselves gratitude for the things that we are doing. So I want you to give me at least one or two things that you are doing right now that are on your spiritual hygiene list.
Definitely prayer.
I love that.
Prayer, definitely. My meditation may have gone out the window, but my prayer has been strong, you know. I do pray a lot. I pray almost constantly. Like I find myself just under my breath, saying something, or sometimes just thinking it in my mind. I wake up in the morning in prayer, and I'm really, grateful for that I have at least maintained that. I have lots of prayer partners, but I've said this before, so the prayer has definitely been there, and I'm really feel like I'm doing that well. And there's room for improvement. Don't get me wrong, um there's always room for improvement. you know um and then, yeah, I'm trying to think, spiritual practice, spiritual hygiene wise. um yeah, I don't know, I consistently get it. This is not really a spiritual hygiene thing, but I consistently get messages. I really do. I may not get messages like the I feel like meditation allows me to get messages about the things like that I'm not really willing to see, you know what I mean? Or that I'm unsure about how to handle, and so there's that. But I really do feel like that when I ask a direct question, I get answers, and I get signs, and I get guidance. And so asking those questions, which is for me different than prayer. Prayer for me is a more affirmative thing. But I do have moments where I'm like, what do you want? And I'm looking up because that's just kind of like the symbol that we have for like talking to God. But I'm aware that God is everywhere or whatever. But I do have these moments where I just go, what? What am I supposed to do here? And it never fails that an answer comes, you know. And so I do feel that spiritual hygiene wise, I am pretty connected, and even this week of things happening. I remember last week saying, like, Spirit, show me where I'm not doing what you need me to do. And answer. It may have come through me screwing up something, but it came. But it came, and it reminded me of what I needed to do. And even though it was something I kind of knew I needed to do, not kind of, I knew. But I was rationalizing not doing. And so through this mistake that I made and this situation, I was given the guidance, but I asked for it, you know? Like, I asked for it. We had been talking about it, and I really try to practice what I preach, you know, not that I feel like we're preaching per se, but what we're talking about. And after our last live, I was like, okay, Spirit, show me, what do I need to, where am I? And the answer came. So the asking of the questions and definitely maintaining that prayer, you know, space.
I love that. That's so amazing. I think that, sometimes I think people don't realize that they can ask those questions. Like, you can literally ask spirit and, ask yourself, if you have any sort of, trepidation or any sort of hesitation about,
Mhm.
asking spirit, you can literally ask yourself those questions. And so, and you will answer yourself, and you will give yourself the
Yeah.
answer that you need, as long as you, kind of move out the way, get your ego, out of it, and, your trauma, your hurt, you got some moving. You're going to have to rearrange some things, but
Right.
getting
Right.
out the way and allowing yourself to hear yourself is extremely important. And so I absolutely love that you are doing those things right. You know what I mean? You are practicing your spiritual hygiene, even though maybe there are some things that, you're like, oh, I forgot about this. This kind of fell by the wayside. Let me pick that back up, put that back in
Right.
my box, and keep.
Right.
So yeah, if I could say for myself, I would say that I've been doing mirror work. I have been
Mm.
really doing some mirror work, if I can be, a little vulnerable, I can, and share that, I have some, some issues with the mirror, if you will.
Yes.
I have just a few issues with the mirror. And, you know, there have been times that, for whatever reason, there have been things that have been said to me, and, things that have been done and things of that nature that make me feel uncomfortable with the person standing in the mirror, the person staring back at me.
Mhm.
My reflection, and so I have been, taking some time in the mirror and, just telling myself, I love myself, and telling myself that I am worthy, telling myself that I have a right to choose. I can make decisions. I don't have to go along, with anything that makes me feel uncomfortable. I love myself. I hug myself. You know what I mean? I tell myself I'm that big. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I've been doing some things, and although, I still am working towards some things, but I have also been doing some things that I'm
Yeah.
very proud of, and I've been stepping outside of my comfort zone and allowing myself to grow. And so, I'm like, look at you doing your thing, and it feels good because, I know, one of the things, growing up, I used to get, kind of reprimanded for being in the mirror too long. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to make sure I look okay. You know what I
Right. Mhm.
get out that mirror, and and then, just other things that will come as a result of that. And I've been working on getting comfortable with being in the mirror with myself. You know what I mean? Having a healthy relationship with being in the mirror and not letting, anything from my past, continue to, thwart that, or distort, how I view myself.
Hmm.
I've been doing that. And if I could say anything else, would probably be um stillness. Like, I've definitely been practicing stillness and silence a lot. Like, I find myself, and I think I've shared on here, I've definitely shared with you, that I just will turn everything off and just, and even the thoughts in my head, I even separate myself from those for a little while, because I just need peace. I need quiet. I need stillness. I need to, not think. Some people are like, oh, I
Hmm.
need to think. I almost said that too. I need to not think for a second. I need a breather. There's so much going on in the world. We are bombarded with so much information. We're getting all these news stories. I know me, sometimes I can be a scroller on social media, and I'm taking in all these stories and all this information. And I'm just like, no, I have learned the power of stepping away from, you know what I mean? Sometimes that's everything. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's closing the laptop, turning the TV off, putting the iPhone down, you know, um, all of that, and so those are a couple things that I've been doing right, and it's definitely been helping me, because I've been feeling like the energies, right now we're in the middle of eclipse season. We just had a lunar eclipse a week or two ago, and now we're going to have a solar eclipse on, I think, Monday or something like that, on the 22nd, if I recall correctly, but it's coming up. Don't hold me to the date, but um, we're definitely in the middle of eclipse season. We got all kinds of things going on, tragedies around the world. A lot of bickering over, just different things. And, you know, being honest, it's been, kind of getting to me for a little, a little bit. And as I want to, and I'm striving to share my perspective on how we can love each other better, come together better, be better in community. Sometimes I need to, like, take a break. And so,
Right.
I'm doing that, and I have to honor myself and give myself grace and gratitude for that. So,
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. I love that you've been doing mirror work. That is something that has been very hard for me. So I shy away from mirror work. I do it from time to time. Like I said, I write my affirmations on the mirror, so I'll say them. But I've never been strong at mirror work. So I'm really loving that that's something you're leaning into, and that you're still getting your stillness in. That's so important. It is so important to get some stillness, and that clarity of mind and that refreshing of your mind. So yeah, bravo to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I was kind of, at first I said, things that we're grateful for. And then I said the things that we're doing right. And I kind of realized that I kind of like weave that together, but I wanted it to be separate. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mhm.
got to be separate. So I want to circle back to, you know, um, gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in the world, one of the highest frequencies. It's we are able to really change the trajectory of our lives and change everything around us by being grateful.
Mhm.
We talked a little bit about this last week. When you are grateful, you're able to have more. You're able to see more and be more, and it just kind of, it not kind of, it adds to your life, because you
Yes.
are something that you may have been blind to, that maybe you just didn't think you have. When you're grateful for it, you're like, oh, that's a plus. Okay, I got this in my toolbox too. Let me keep going. And it helps us to stay in higher elevations, higher vibrations, which
Mhm.
help us to manifest, help us to,
Right.
have a better world around us. So back to that question, can you name a few things that you're grateful for right now?
Oh, I can name tons of things that I'm grateful for. I mean, there's always the basics. Like, I'm grateful for my family and my kids and all of those things. But if I was to go deeper than that, deeper than just the everyday things, I am so grateful for those everyday things because they are all blessings. So I don't want to like kind of swipe that to the side because no, I am so grateful for my kids. I'm so grateful for my wife. I am so grateful for my house and my gardens and all of those things. Like, I'm just so grateful for everything that I have because there was a time that I didn't. I didn't have a companion. I didn't have kids. I couldn't. I didn't think I could have kids. There were times where and I couldn't. And so I'm grateful for all of those things. I don't really just want to brush them aside. But if I could just go a step beyond that, beyond the everyday things, the material things, the physical, realities of relationships and stuff like that. I'm really grateful for my growing consciousness, like that growing, that depth, that like intimacy with spirit. It's blossoming. I feel like I'm at the, I there was a time when I was naive enough to think that I had blossomed, right? But
Uh,
now I'm realizing that I haven't, that I'm just budding. And when you think about that, that means you still have so far to go. And I'm just grateful for that. I'm so grateful for this journey. I am so grateful for my human companions on this journey. Yes, my family, but friends, but the viewers who are watching us, like, just I'm just so grateful for that. You know what I mean? But it's just really that connection because it's all about now I'm understanding that oneness more. And I won't say that I fully get it yet. You know what I mean? I don't know that anybody fully gets it in this life. But I do feel it, I feel it growing. I feel the connection growing to the most high, to those around me, and this oneness with the earth, oneness with other humans, the animals, just the plants, everything, and I'm grateful for the grace, the grace that I have been given, not just by humans, but by the divine. So that's just a few things. Like when you get into gratitude, like I've told you about the steps of affirmative prayer, you start, I could spend a long time in gratitude. It's a practice that really transformed and helped me to awaken, to get to the awakening stage.
mhm.
um Abraham Hicks used to do like the morning rampage, and so like gratitude was a part of that, and that really was one of the first gratitude practices that I had, was
Mhm.
doing that morning rampage. And so now that I have it's now that I've learned about affirmative prayer and kind of incorporated into that, I can spend forever on the gratitude step,
Right.
just feeling grateful. So yep, that's what I have. How about you? What are you grateful for?
Well, like you, the same. Like of course, my family, my friends, my companions on earth, my soul tribe, you,
Right.
our sisters in the accountability circle, the sisters that have joined me in book clubs, and people that I've met as I've volunteer and garden, and on my runs and walks, and even at work,
Hmm.
just I'm just so grateful for the people who shine the best parts of life to me. You know what I mean? Like I just want to feel more love, and so
Hmm.
I am so grateful for everyone who really reflects that in my life. Um, on top of that, I would say that I'm grateful for my desire to share the goodness of the Most High. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so grateful for that. There's so many things that I could be doing in the world, and there's many things that I have done in the world too, if you think about it, when I was younger and I was partying and drinking and you know what I mean, just not really thinking about what those things were doing to me, and how they were impacting the world. I have started to really think about my own electromagnetism, and
Mm.
that concept of knowing that I am an electromagnetic being. I am always radiating something, whether I know it or not. We're always radiant. We're always giving off something, some energy, some aura, some, whatever. And my desire to want to really give the best parts of myself, I'm really grateful for that. And I'm not saying I'm perfect and I always get it right, but I'm really grateful that when you get in the car with me, and when I say when you get, and this is the analogy that I use,
Mhm.
um, when you get in the car with me, you're safe, meaning when you come into a relationship with me, you're safe. I'm not going to say I'm perfect or I get everything right, but if I do misstep, make mistakes or whatever, I can acknowledge it. I can grow. I want to do better. I want us to have good relationships. This is what we are here for. We're here to come back together, back to one. So, um, I'm just really grateful that that God has given me the heart to be a channel, to be a conduit for I. And I say that with all the humbleness in the world. That's not something, because it's not easy. It's a lonely kind of, it's kind of a lonely road, when you just realize that you don't want to be a part of a lot of things, because it's those things are not for you. And so, yeah, that's what I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful to have a heart for God. I'm grateful for having a heart for community. I'm grateful for just the disposition that I have and the things that I really want to share. So, yeah, I'm really grateful for that. And it's not of my own doing. It's from God,
Right.
And that's the best part for me. It's like, okay, God chose me to want to, you know, to see things, and say like, no, this isn't right. We could do better. Like I could do better.
Mhm.
We could do better. You know what I mean? God chose me, and so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful. Um, so, all right, continuing on with our homeroom check-in. Um, Affirmations. Do you have an affirmation that you'd like to share with us? I know we affirm ourselves all the time, and we
Mhm.
have different things that we affirm about ourselves, about our environment, about the world. Can you share an affirmation with us today?
Oh, so one that's coming to me right now, like I have tons. I told you I have that app on my phone that just I have a bunch of them programmed in there, and so they always come up on my phone at random times. But the one that is coming to me at this moment is I am intimately connected to spirit.
I love that.
And it's just a beautiful reminder of our, divinity, our the divine part of ourselves, and that we are intimately connected, from the inside. Not It's not an external thing. We're not connected to something outside of us, that we are connected, internally, intimately, very, closely. And so that's the one that is coming. That's just ringing in my ear as you ask that question.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I was racking my brain trying to think of one myself, and I like, for me, I want to affirm something for the collective. I want to confirm, and I want to affirm and confirm that, that we are one, and
Hmm.
know, the will of God will be done here on earth, as it is in heaven.
Right.
know, I have been thinking a lot about this. Like, is it crazy to think we could have heaven on earth? And, people are like, some people that I've conversed with are like, well, heaven's it starts in the mind. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, yeah, in my mind, like, I see beauty, I see love, and I want to share that, and I want to be a part of that. But it's like, can I have that with like millions of people too? Like,
Right.
can we all share in that? Like, do we need to split the planet in half to have that? Like, do we need to send them?
Yeah.
um, but no, I do believe that it is the will of God for all of us to come together. And some of us have to be awakened to that. Some of us have to release some entities and energies that have hijacked our consciousness or subconsciousness, our subconscious minds. But yeah, that's what I want to affirm, that God's will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. We
Hmm.
shall, you know, have heaven on earth. We shall come together, and I want to see, beautiful life, without all the suffering. And so,
Right.
more of a paragraph than an affirmation, but you get the point. I can be a little long-winded.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can turn that into a simple sentence by just saying, like, I and humanity are one. We are one, and then we are peace. You
Yes.
know, I think that's a great way to put it. I love that that's the affirmation that you came with, because I do feel like we're in a process of transition where we're transitioning from this chaotic,
Hmm.
pain-based society that we live in to a more um love-based society. And it doesn't feel like that necessarily on the surface now, because there's so much hate going on in the world, but it is people like you, like some of our other spiritual brothers and sisters who are holding that vibration of the possibility of a humanity that is beautiful, that is, loving, that is kind, that, there may be still pain and suffering to some degree on earth, but it's in holding that affirmation that the transformation is going to come whenever it does finally manifest in the physical.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I agree wholeheartedly. I was telling someone yesterday, as a matter of fact, at work, I'm like, yeah, there's so much, that is being, done and
Hmm.
said. A lot of back and forth, and I feel like a lot of the things that are being revealed are so that they can,
Yeah.
be changed,
Hmm.
you can't heal what you don't reveal, what you don't see, what's not,
Yep.
these things coming up. And especially here, sometimes I feel like here in the United States, because our country is like policing other countries and doing all this other stuff. And it's like, hey,
Hmm.
guys, you know,
Right.
your own backyard, you got
Right.
people there who feel oppressed and who feel like they are, left out of, this society, and not that they want to be in this society. We want to make a
Right.
better society that's inclusive of everyone. But yeah, it has to be brought to the forefront so that it can be changed. So that's one of
Right.
important things to remember. So yeah, I'm really excited that I don't want to say excited, but I'm grateful to be alive now. And I hope that, I can be one of the ones to help usher in this change. I feel like this is what we're here for. This is why you messaged the group chat and was like, hey guys, we gotta, Let's do our thing. We got to get out here. We got to start sharing because we have to hold space and
Mhm.
hold these. So thank you.
My my pleasure.
Um, so another thing I wanted to do was share an announcement. So we have been thinking about how we're going to like move forward on a monthly basis, and I want to do 21-day cycles of transformation every month. you know um, we are not just here to spit theories and thoughts and things of that nature. Like, we are actually doing our work. Ayanla, we're doing our okay, Miss Ayanla. Okay, we doing our work. All right. And I always laugh about that because I remember just not knowing what the work was. She would really say that a lot on on her show and on
Right.
interviews. You got to do your work. Like, what work? What I'm supposed to be doing? Like, tell me. And so once I started to learn what my work is, because my work is maybe a little different from your work, and your work may be different from the next person's work. I realized that it's a continuation, like I said, like, we're here in Virgo season, and Virgo is an earth sign, much like Taurus and Capricorn, and these are like our dedicated people. Like, I love earth sign people because y'all get the job done. Like, I'll be still sitting in la la land. I'm, my earth sign, people, they be done already. I'll be like, well, dang, you finish your, yeah, I'm done. And me, with my fire and all the other energies I got going on, I'm still up here. I'm
Right.
still buffering sometimes. So, I wanted to formally make the announcement that we're going to be doing 21-day cycles of transformation every month. And we have more that's going to be coming out about that in the coming days. And we'll be sharing more about that. We're probably going to kick it off in October, because October being ruled, most of October being ruled by, or rather the end of October being ruled by Scorpio, but you know what I mean. It's still that season, and you got Venus in the beginning of the, with Libra and all that good stuff. But we're talking about transformation in October, and
Mhm.
we are going to every month we're going to be kicking off a new 21-day cycle. They say it takes 21 days to implement a new habit, to make a change, to essentially elevate your life. And so we're going to be doing this every 21 days. We're going to have a new intention that we're going to set, and we're going to all work together so that we can continue to elevate ourselves and continue to work with each other. So
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything to add on that, Umi?
Oh, well, I love that this is what we're going with. I will say that this was Uni's creation. She came to me and she was just like, I really feel strongly about this 21-day thing. Like, we need to do this. And I'm like, I support it. Let's do it.
Thank
And just the growth that we're going through, and there's going to be be changes on our format, and we're grateful for all of our viewers, and bear with us as we try things and move things around and give us feedback. So we are always, we welcome constructive criticism. We welcome, tell us what we're doing right, tell us what you don't like, what you do like. Don't be mean. Don't be mean. You don't have to be mean. You could
right.
you could say, I don't care for that, or I don't find that productive, or something like that. Um but I love this idea of, using each month to, take 21 days to try to really embrace a concept, a thought, a habit, or however, whatever it is that month that we're going to be working on. I know next month is like harvest and reception and receiving. Um, so that's going to be a great practice because, hey, how many of us have problems with receiving? Even those of us who think we like to get things have a problem with actually receiving. So it's going to be a really great. And I'm just so grateful for that revelation that you had, and looking forward to seeing how it plays out in the next couple of months. Yeah.
Thank thank you so much. Yeah, I am I'm a community kind of person. I like to learn in community. I like to grow in community. I love to lend a helping hand. Like that's the person that I've always been. Like I show up ready to work, and I want to share that energy with the collective, and just see if maybe we can, or not see if, but definitely get more people on board so that we can have just this sense of growth. And because
Mhm.
so many people out here, I realize, that feel stuck. So many people
Mhm.
that they feel like they need accountability. And there's so many things going on, I feel, in the world, that and in our personal lives as well, on top of that, and then things that have happened in our past, and just every
Right.
way that some people just feel stuck. And so I would, I just was thinking of that. And, just all the sisters that come to me and they're like, oh, I need an accountability partner. And I want to read this book, and I want to do that. And this is hard, and that is hard. And it's like, you know what, we could do it together,
Mhm.
as your peer guide. I really want to lean into that, that energy. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, we'll be sharing more about this in the coming weeks. And we'll be definitely having a theme each month. And we'll
Mhm.
share more. We'll share more soon, so look out for that. So, speaking of prayer, we have been talking a lot about, affirmative prayer. We've been talking a lot about um, just really leaning into that. And I wanted to know if you'd be willing to share a snippet of a affirmative prayer for us, that'll help us, with our spiritual hygiene this month.
Yeah, of course. Of course, of course. Oh, so I think I've mentioned the steps of affirmative prayer before, and it varies, depending on who the school of thought that you're learning from is. I specifically do affirmative prayer as taught by Reverend Michael Beckwith of Agape International Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. And the format of that is, it starts with gratitude, because gratitude sets the vibration high, right? So that's where you start. And then it's the recognition of the truth of what God is and who God is. Unification, which is the unifying of yourself with God, spirit, whatever whatever word you use for the higher power. And it's not really that you're unifying, it's that you're recognizing the unification. Okay. But for clarity purpose, you don't say recognition and recognition. But it is an extension of the recognition stage, in that you're recognizing your godness, you
Yes.
know. Realization, which is the realization of whatever it is that you're praying for, and that it's already so. And thanksgiving, which is where you give thanks that it is so. And then release, which is giving it to God, letting it go, walking away. Okay. Um, and so did you want me to actually like say a prayer, or
It's up to you. Do you feel comfortable
Oh
saying?
yeah, yeah. Oh, at this point, yeah, I got this.
Thank.
Um, and so when I pray, I just kind of, I really tap in, and I feel like it's not me that's speaking. I let the Most High speak through me. Okay, so I start in gratitude, and I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to pray. I'm so grateful for Uni and for myself and for our coming together on this project that is called Earth School Journey. I'm so grateful for each and every person who is out there, who is listening and watching and learning and getting a sense of community from this program. I'm just so grateful for the light of God, which shines through myself, which shines through Uni, which shines through each and every human being on this planet. And I recognize that there is only one power, one presence, and that power and presence is the presence of love. It is this love that created the universe, that brought forth the stars, that ordered the galaxies, that brought everything forth in perfect divine order. And this omnipresent love, it is my very life. It is my life. It is Uni's life. It is the life of any and everyone watching this program. And it is the life of all around, to every human, to every person in our community. One life, one breath, one. We are all one, one with the divine. And I recognize and I realize that this life that I live, this life that Uni lives, that we all live, it is for the highest expression of the divine, that it is unfolding perfectly, divinely, and that we are all taken care of, that everything is working together for our highest and greatest good. And I am giving thanks for this. I'm thankful that this is true. And I release and I relax and I give it to the law, knowing that it is so. And so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That
Thank you.
felt good.
Beautiful. It felt good. It felt me too. Yes.
Yeah, felt
You know,
good.
that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, I mean, I tell you all the time when you pray, I get chills, and it's just telling you, you're so gifted. So thank you so much for blessing us with that prayer.
My pleasure.
I would like to just acknowledge, I think I mentioned before that, you know, we're in the middle of eclipse season where, you know, you got the sun and the moon, they're doing their thing in the sky. And
Yep.
there's just a lot of, you know, there's a lot of energy around us right now. And I wanted the prayer so that we could, you know, really ground ourselves in the truth, you know,
Hmm.
the truth of our oneness, the truth of, you know, who we are, the truth of what we're here for, you know. And so I just want to say again, thank you so much for that. That was absolutely beautiful. And I want to mention the fall equinox that's coming up on Monday, which is also it's going to be the kind of like the end of the eclipse season. So the solar eclipse is going to be on Monday
Hmm.
2nd, and it's just so important for us to stay rooted in prayer. It's important for us to stay rooted in goodness, and you know, to keep our hearts light as a feather, you know, to
Hmm.
forgive, to release, to let go of any grievances, and to not allow our energy, you know, they talk about energy harvesting. And for a while, I was like, "Oh, how they harvesting our energy? You know what they? You know these conspiracy theorists. They always coming up with something." But then again, you know, back to my, you know, we are electromagnetic beings. We are giving off energy. We are, you know, we are emitting frequencies. You know, when we are fully invested in things that are not for our highest good, yes, our energy is being harvested. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I wanted, that was another reason why I wanted us to pray and for us to, just be reminded of that oneness and for us to be affirmed in that and for us to, really stay rooted, especially during this time. This is a time for us to like this morning as I was laying in bed, I'm just like, yeah, this is a time. Like, you gotta choose ye this day who you about to, you know what I
Right.
mean? Who side you on? Okay, because listen,
Right.
you know,
Right.
where do you stand? So again, yeah, thank you so much for that. And that's why I wanted to mention, the equinox and the eclipse season as well. From a astrological standpoint, we are spiritual. We have our spiritual practices. You may hear me and sometimes even Umi. Maybe we mention a few Bible verses here and there, but we bring it all together. At the end
Hmm.
it all works together for our good because we are aware of what's going on. We're conscious of the
Hmm.
us and the energies that we're putting off. So staying rooted in prayer, staying together with your community, keeping your spiritual hygiene intact,
Right.
doing your work, your practices, the things that keep you grounded, the things that keep your mind clear, your heart strong, the things that keep you elevated in frequencies of love and oneness and wholeness. Stay there. Stay there. Okay. You know
Right.
what I mean? Stay there. And thank you for joining us this week. It's been an amazing episode. I'm so grateful for you, Umi, Steph, and all your wisdom that you continuously share in front and behind the scenes. um, and do you have any final words about spiritual hygiene? Anything you want to share? Anything?
Oh, final words about spiritual hygiene. Well, before I say anything like that, I just want to say thank you for hosting today and leading our conversation. I love when you do homeroom check-ins. And I'm very appreciative of all the work that you really put into preparing this and guiding us through this. Um, so that was first and foremost. As far as spiritual hygiene, don't be afraid to assess your own situation. I that is what I did last week, and I can't tell you the like, you know, the aha, the like, you do feel convicted, as they used to say in church. You feel that for a moment, but what I love about spirituality, and the like, just different spiritual practices, and this consciousness of awakening, is the grace. You really have to give yourself grace when you fall off. I found myself beating myself up this week for falling off and dropping the ball and all of that, and then I reached out to some people and they were just like, give yourself some grace. So give yourself grace. Don't be afraid to assess yourself, and if you find that you're falling off, give yourself grace, jump back on and jump back in. And yeah, that's it. Thank you to everyone for joining us. I'm so grateful for you all. It's for everyone who's watching right now, who's going to watch later. We so appreciate you. We so appreciate you. And just, keep watching, keep coming back. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys. See you next Wednesday. Take care.
Take care.